podcast night. Just Joe Rogan, a mic, and that familiar low laugh. But then his tone shifted. His face hardened. "Something's off," he said quietly, and the room went cold. Within hours, Candace Owens went live, holding what she called receipts. And suddenly, the entire internet stopped scrolling. Fans were stunned. Timelines froze. Something about her words, measured, deliberate, almost too calm, made people lean closer. "We're not saying it's true," she began. "We're saying it doesn't add up." That single sentence detonated online. Overnight, threads exploded with theories, voice clips, and fragments of a mystery no one could verify. Messages, missing footage, unexplained flights. It was all there, circling like vultures around one name, Charlie Kirk. Joe looked uneasy. Candace looked certain. And everyone watching felt it too. The gut-deep sense that something beneath the headlines wasn't right, because sometimes it's not what people say that's scary. It's what they don't. And this time, both Joe and Candace sounded like they knew more than they were willing to admit. Started with a quiet episode that didn't feel quiet at all. Joe Rogan sat back in his studio, staring at the screen like something didn't sit right. His co-host laughed, tried to move on, but Joe wasn't letting it go. "There's something weird about this whole thing," he said slowly. And even through the laughter, the tone changed. It wasn't one of those casual podcast moments. It felt heavier. Fans who tuned in that night said you could feel the tension through the mic. He kept replaying a clip where Candace Owens talked about what she called receipts, things she'd seen or heard around the Charlie Kirk case. Joe leaned forward, squinting.
Every day before Charlie Kirk died, he expressed that he thought he was going to be killed. He told these people, "I think they're going to kill me." Okay? He did not express that to me. So I am telling you this based off the testimony of 3 people. And I am saying this because I hope that these people who I think are good will be inspired to come forward with that. Again, those conversations I had were off record. I honor that. If I say it's off record, it stays off record. But I'm hoping that watching what I am doing and feeling the energy that is rising across the world for people who want to know what the heck happened at 9/10, that, they will be brave and they will say, yeah, Charlie did day before he died think that he was going to be killed, and maybe tell us, who is they? Well, for once and for all, who is they?
Squinting. "If she's got those messages," he said, "then the timeline doesn't make sense." That one line alone sparked chaos online. People clipped it, shared it, analyzed every pause, every look on his face. Some said he looked worried. Others said he looked angry. But everyone agreed something was off. The story had already been circulating, unconfirmed but spreading fast. Candace Owens had hinted that there were inconsistencies surrounding the reports of what happened to Charlie Kirk. She didn't name names, didn't drop any official files, but she claimed to have messages and private communications that changed the whole picture. Joe, usually calm, started picking apart every detail, asking questions that echoed what thousands of comments were already saying. How did that plane even get there? Who confirmed that timeline? And why are key witnesses suddenly changing their statements? The room grew quiet each time he asked. His producer gave a look off camera like he didn't want to go further, but Joe kept talking. "I don't know, man. I just feel off about this whole thing." The clip had exploded across social media. Candace saw it too, and within hours she responded during her own live stream. "I respect Joe," she began, "but he's not wrong to feel off, because I've seen things that made me feel the same way." Her voice was steady, calm, but you could tell she was holding something back. She talked about 3 people who'd come to her privately. According to her, they told her that Charlie had sensed something was coming. He told them he didn't feel safe. He said, "They're going to kill me." And they didn't believe him. She paused.
The plane that people have recognized is military. That's tail number N1098L. So this plane left from Texas, went over to Utah right about the time that Charlie got assassinated. It dipped real low. It seemed like, who knows what this plane was being sent there for, but the fact that this plane had been used in the military rightfully alerted people to the fact that they may have had some knowledge. This plane may have had some knowledge of what was going to occur. But one thing I want to clarify for you is that that plane was being contracted. You guys noticed that it was owned by LaSalle Aviation LLC. We are awaiting more information, but I just wanted to let you know that if you recognize that, it is strange. It did happen. There's no question. I've been saying from the beginning, this was a military operation. It's very obvious. the more you peel back the onion, it is very obvious that this was a military operation. So it's fitting that you would have a plane that the military...
Paused for a long moment before adding softly, "Now I do." That single line sent shivers through her viewers. Clips from her stream started spreading faster than any official news update. Threads formed, dissecting every frame, every quote. People started connecting dots that maybe weren't even there. Someone posted screenshots of a flight tracker showing a low-flying aircraft the same day Charlie died. Another user claimed to have heard strange radio chatter. None of it was verified, but the speculation became the story. As more people jumped in, familiar names began reacting. Tucker Carlson mentioned it briefly on his segment, calling it one of the most curious public tragedies in recent years. Megyn Kelly, during her podcast, said she found Candace's composure unsettling but...
Question. The other thing, they said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut the fuck up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled?
To disassemble a gun.
To disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack. And by the way, not gonna fit. Not gonna fit.
In the backpack.
And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof? What? This story is horseshit. Like, none of these things make any sense to me. Like, you're telling me that this kid who's not military trained, this guy, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like, that's insane. So he's on the roof, he shoots, he jumps from...
but brave. Fans flooded comments asking the same question over and over. If the case was that simple, why did it feel so complicated? Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Charlie's family tried to stay quiet. His parents refused interviews, and his wife Erica only posted once, a single black heart emoji. But that silence didn't calm things down. It fueled it. Speculation filled every gap. People started pulling up old clips of Charlie's speeches, trying to find signs that he had felt threatened or watched. One clip showed him joking nervously about pissing off the wrong crowd. Another showed him glancing over his shoulder during a campus event. Maybe coincidence. His next episode opened with the same topic, though he didn't plan to revisit it. I wasn't even going to talk...
Who is the decoy? All right, so you got this guy who's an older guy who starts yelling out. Didn't he take his pants down? Took his pants down? This guy was at 9/11. He was at the Boston bombings.
All the hits.
He called in a fake bomb at another place. And then he did this at this thing. Right after, so somehow or another, this guy has the state of mind that the moment someone gets shot, he yells out and says, I did it, and takes his pants down or something like that. I don't know exactly what he did. Then, ready for this? He gets arrested for
talk about this again, he said. But after last night, I got messages from people saying, dude, you're onto something. I'm not onto anything. I just think the story smells weird. His co-host laughed nervously, trying to steer the conversation elsewhere, but Joe wasn't done. Think about it, he said. A public event, tight security, and yet someone pulls off something like this without being caught in the act. Then a suspect magically appears, everything wraps up neatly, and we move on. That's not normal. His tone was steady, but the subtext was loud. Fans flooded the live chat with theories. Words like setup, cover, and operation trended for hours. Joe didn't endorse any of it.
Most interest to me, what I've learned is that his father does not believe, his parents don't believe that their son committed this crime. I was like, huh? Excuse me? That's a far cry from what the media has been telling us. Remember, the media presented this amazing story. The father realized his son was guilty, so it goes, right? And then he phoned over a friend to help him convince his son to turn himself in, because this guy, you know, this mysterious guy was a friend and just had a connection with Tyler. And eventually they said, you gotta do the right thing here. We know this is you. That was the vibe. Certainly that's what the media was putting
of it, but he didn't deny it either. Look, he said, we're just talking. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying the pieces don't fit. Candace's next move came fast. She uploaded a video called What They Don't Want You to See. It wasn't long, just 15 minutes, but every second felt loaded. She spoke calmly, almost like she'd rehearsed it, showing screenshots and blurred out texts that she claimed came from Charlie's inner circle. I've removed names for their privacy, she said, but I can confirm these messages are real. The texts read like fragments of fear. Phrases like, they're following me. and "something's going to happen tomorrow." Again, no one could prove they were genuine, but they were believable enough to spark outrage. People began tagging official agencies, demanding investigations, accusing media outlets of silence. Hashtags like "Our Justice for Charlie" and "What Really Happened" started trending. Even those who didn't believe the story admitted one thing: it had everyone's attention. Then came the twist nobody expected. Late that evening, a video surfaced from an anonymous account claiming to show aerial footage of a plane circling the event location at the exact time of the chaos. The clip was grainy, shaky, but eerily real. Within hours, online sleuths identified a tail number that matched a military-registered aircraft. Coincidence? Maybe. But to the internet, it was confirmation. The noise was deafening. "This was planned," one post said. "They knew," said another. Joe Rogan mentioned the footage briefly, saying, "If that's real, someone needs to explain it." Candace reposted it without comment. The silence from both sides said more than any words could. Fans began to choose sides, those who believed there was more to the story, and those who thought it was just viral paranoia. Neither side was backing down. The tension had officially broken containment. This wasn't just about one incident anymore. It was about trust, power, and control. And as Joe scrolled through the headlines, his brow furrowed deeper. He said quietly, "It's the same feeling you get when something's wrong but nobody else notices yet." The studio went still, like everyone there felt it too. No one said anything for a few seconds. The cameras kept rolling. And that's when it hit people watching. Maybe the story wasn't just about what happened to Charlie Kirk, but what happens when people stop believing the stories they're told. And that silence, that uneasy gap between facts and faith, became the loudest sound on the internet that night. By the time the next sunrise hit, the internet had turned into a full-blown battlefield. Every post, every clip, every reaction was dissected frame by frame. Joe Rogan's name trended again, right next to Candace Owens. People started labeling it the podcast war, even though both of them hadn't attacked each other directly. It was more like a slow burn, two loud voices circling the same storm from different directions. On one side, Joe kept repeating that the story didn't feel right. On the other, Candace kept promising she had proof. And in between, millions of viewers were glued to their screens, trying to make sense of what was real and what was rumor. Candace's next livestream came unannounced. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept in days, but her tone was calm, almost too calm. "I'm not here to start chaos," she said softly. "But if we're talking about transparency, then let's talk about it all." Behind her, a stack of printed screenshots lay on the table. She lifted one and said, "These are messages from someone close to Charlie, someone who was there that night." The chat exploded instantly. Thousands of viewers typing, begging her to show them. She didn't. Instead, she read a few lines. Charlie said, "Something's wrong with the event tomorrow." He said, "They keep changing the schedule last minute." Now you tell me, what kind of person says that if everything is normal? The camera zoomed slightly closer. Her expression hardened. "They laughed when I said military involvement. But look at the tail number. That's not a rumor, that's a record." The room went dead silent. Dead silent. Joe's reaction came later that evening. He didn't play Candace's clip on his show, but everyone could tell he'd seen it. He leaned back in his chair and rubbed his face like he was trying to process something big. "I don't know what to make of this," he admitted. "It feels like one of those stories where the more you look, the weirder it gets." His guest nodded. "And people love weird," Joe added with a half smile. "They eat it up. But what if this time weird means real?" That line alone was enough to ignite another wave of chaos. Fans clipped it and turned it into 100 versions of short videos. One caption read, "Joe finally admits it's deeper." Another said, "Rogan and Owens in sync." Even though he hadn't said anything definitive, the audience heard what they wanted to hear. Someone claiming to be from inside Turning Point posted an anonymous message online, saying that Charlie had indeed been preparing an internal audit of the organization's finances. Within hours, screenshots of alleged accounting documents surfaced, blurry, cropped, but filled with numbers that didn't line up. Nobody knew if they were authentic, but they didn't have to be. They looked real enough to spark outrage. People started whispering about missing funds, sudden promotions, and hidden conflicts between board members. The drama reached a new level. One clip even showed an older interview where Charlie hinted that he was cleaning up a few things internally. Now, fans were replaying that clip as if it were a farewell message. Comments poured in. "He knew too much. This wasn't random. Watch what happens next. Candace didn't help calm things down either. She doubled down in her next video. They can call me crazy all they want, she said, pacing slowly across her studio. But I have seen what's being ignored. She talked about a family friend, a retired detective, who allegedly helped bring Tyler Robinson in. That's not the story the media gave us, she said. They said his father did it out of guilt. That's not what happened. Her voice cracked slightly, maybe from exhaustion, maybe emotion. If the parents never believed he did it, then why did we? The way she said it hit like a gut punch. For a few seconds, she stood there quietly, letting the question hang in the air. The chat filled with messages of support. People were calling her brave, reckless, a hero, a manipulator, everything all at once. Back on Joe's show, the atmosphere turned heavier. A producer handed him a printed article mid-recording. Joe read the headline under his breath, frowned, and shook his head. Now they're saying the guy on the roof disassembled an antique rifle and carried it in parts? He let out a disbelieving laugh. That's insane. Have you ever tried taking apart one of those old World War rifles? They're huge. You'd need a full workshop, not a backpack. His guest chuckled, but Joe didn't. If that's the story, then we're missing something. There's either incompetence or deception here, and both are bad. Within hours, clips of that quote spread everywhere. Incompetence or deception. It became the phrase of the week. But the deeper people dug, the stranger it got. Amateur investigators on Reddit began building digital timelines, comparing plane flight paths, text timestamps, and even weather data from that night. Someone noticed that the alleged aircraft dipped below standard altitude right as the campus went into lockdown. Another pointed out that certain text messages Candace mentioned were sent at the exact time Charlie was on stage. Fans went wild with theories. Some claimed it was just coincidence. Others said it proved everything. One viral post read, "Either the universe has a twisted sense of humor, or someone's choreographing the chaos." The mystery became entertainment, a live-streamed puzzle no one could solve. And just as the storm seemed to reach its peak, something even more dramatic surfaced. A caller on a small radio show claimed to have seen a man acting strangely near the event, an older man who allegedly shouted, "I did it," right after shots were fired. The detail was bizarre, almost theatrical, but it matched a fragment from Candace's earlier statement. People froze. Could this be the same decoy man Joe mentioned? The caller refused to give his name, only saying, "You'll find him if you look at the old cases. He shows up everywhere." That one phrase was enough to send the online world spiraling again. Within hours, threads popped up comparing photos from unrelated tragedies, trying to identify the same mysterious figure. Some pictures were laughably different, but others looked eerily similar. It didn't matter whether it was true. The suspense was addictive. A short clip later that day. Her voice was calm but firm. "They want to call it coincidence," she said. "But how many coincidences does it take before you start calling it a pattern?" Joe didn't respond immediately this time. When he finally spoke about it, his words were careful. "Look, I don't know what's real anymore," he admitted, "but I know what feels wrong." It wasn't confirmation or denial. It was something in between, a space filled with uncertainty. And that's what made people lean in even closer. By now, the narrative wasn't about evidence anymore. It was about emotion, about who seemed more believable, who looked more sincere, who could make the audience feel their doubt. While all of this unfolded online, mainstream media stayed mostly silent. A few outlets mentioned the growing buzz, but none touched the heart of it. That silence gave the story even more weight. "They're ignoring it," one fan wrote, "which means it's real." Others countered, "They're ignoring it because it's nonsense." But no one could stop talking about it. It was everywhere, on TikToks, on podcasts, and group chats. Some even started connecting it to larger political rivalries. Everyone wanted to claim ownership of the story, twisting it to fit their side's narrative. What began as a conversation about strange coincidences had become a nationwide obsession. By midweek, Joe's team reportedly received calls from networks asking him to clarify his statements. Candace's production crew said they'd been contacted by sources with new information. Both sides stayed vague, saying they'd review the details. Fans, of course, took that as confirmation that something big was about to drop. Countdown videos started appearing on YouTube titled "The Truth Reveal 24 Hours." Nothing ever came out, but anticipation was enough to keep everyone watching. And somewhere in that whirlwind of speculation and emotion, the original tragedy the actual loss of a person, started to fade behind the noise. People weren't just chasing facts anymore. They were chasing the feeling of mystery itself. And just as things reached their loudest point, something subtle changed. Joe stopped posting clips about the topic. Candace delayed her next episode without explanation. Silence fell again, but not the kind that brings peace. It was the kind that feels like the pause before something big breaks. Fans noticed immediately. Comments poured in asking, what happened behind the scenes? Did they get told to stop talking? Are they working on something together? Nobody knew. And that's where the tension stayed. Hovering, electric, waiting to spill into the next revelation. The silence didn't calm anyone. If anything, it made the story even louder. People started counting the days since Joe and Candace had last mentioned Charlie Kirk's case. Twitter threads filled up with speculation that they were being pressured, silenced, or even working behind the scenes on something explosive. One anonymous post claimed, "A joint episode is being planned. They're waiting for clearance." No one could verify it, but the rumor spread like fire. Fans began watching both of their channels obsessively, waiting for any sign. Every post, every thumbnail, every pause was interpreted like a secret signal. Candace broke first. She returned to her podcast after nearly a week away, opening the show with a calm, eerie tone. "People think silence means surrender," she said softly. "Sometimes silence means you're preparing your next move." She looked directly into the camera, eyes unwavering. "I was contacted by someone who says they have access to internal correspondence. If it's true, what they sent me changes everything." She didn't show it, didn't name the person, but the implication was enough. She promised to verify the information before sharing. "You'll see why I had to go quiet," she added. The internet went wild. Fans flooded her comments begging for hints, demanding receipts. "Show the proof," they wrote. "Don't hold back." But Candace remained cryptic, saying only, "Some truths can't be rushed. They have to be revealed at the right time." Joe finally responded 3 days later, during a late-night episode that wasn't even supposed to be about the controversy. Halfway through a conversation about politics, his guest mentioned Candace, and Joe couldn't resist. "Look," he said, "Candace is smart. If she's seeing something that doesn't line up, I'm listening." He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "But I also think people are losing their minds over fragments. We need the full picture." His tone was calmer now, but something about the way he said it made fans believe he knew more than he was letting on. Comments filled with theories. Joe's holding back, he's scared, they both got warned. Even his silence felt loaded. Then, out of nowhere, a new layer appeared. A reporter from an independent blog released what they called insider notes from a whistleblower connected to the event security team. The document, if real, described last-minute access changes, unexplained visitors, and missing surveillance footage. It didn't prove anything, but it deepened the mystery. Within hours, people connected it to Candace's internal correspondence. Timelines aligned. Names blurred out in one document matched initials from her earlier screenshots. Fans started calling it the missing 33 hours, the time between the event and the arrest. Every unexplained gap in that window became a breeding ground for theories. Candace addressed the leak directly, her expression grave. "I didn't release that document," she said. "But parts of it match what I've been told privately." She paused, letting the words sink in. "I won't confirm what's mine or what isn't, but I will say this. Someone on the inside is scared." Her tone was low, steady, but you could hear the exhaustion creeping in. "They know too much," she continued, "and they've been told to stay quiet. But they won't stay quiet forever." She ended the stream abruptly, leaving viewers stunned. Within an hour, conspiracy channels, commentary podcasts, and entertainment outlets were all running with the same headline: Candace Owens hints at insider whistleblower in Charlie Kirk case. Joe's reaction came the next day, and it was different this time. Gone was the calm tone. "This is getting crazy," he said on air, frustration bleeding through. "Every day there's something new. Emails, witnesses, planes, now insiders. I don't even know what's true anymore." His guest tried to joke, but Joe shook his head. "You know what scares me?" he said quietly. "If any part of this turns out to be real, then the whole thing's way bigger than anyone thought." That moment became a viral clip overnight. Viewers said he looked shaken, not like a host chasing clicks, but like a man realizing he might have stepped into something too deep. Meanwhile, threads about Erica Kirk started resurfacing. Her calm demeanor after Charlie's death kept coming up in comments. Fans split into two camps. Some defended her, saying everyone grieves differently. Others insisted something about her behavior felt wrong. An old interview clip resurfaced where she smiled while talking about moving forward with Charlie's legacy. To many, it seemed too soon. Others called the criticism cruel. But once the internet picks a narrative, it doesn't stop. Videos dissected her tone, her body language, even her choice of clothes in interviews. One viral tweet read, "She looks like she's in control, not mourning." It was speculation, pure and simple, but it fed the fire. Candace didn't mention Erica by name, but in one stream she made a remark that everyone caught. "Some people heal fast," she said, eyes narrowing slightly. "Some people just move on faster than the rest of us can process." Fans gasped in the comments. They knew exactly who she meant. "She's talking about Erica," one wrote. "Watch closely," she's hinting. Even though Candace never confirmed it, her silence when questioned later spoke volumes. The tension between Joe and Candace also began to shift. For the first time, it felt like they were on different sides of the same mystery. Joe wanted logic. Candace wanted exposure. He was cautious. She was relentless. Their fan bases began clashing online. One camp accused Joe of protecting the system, while the other accused Candace of spinning drama. It became less about the case and more about who people believed. The hashtags changed from $Justice for Charlie to $Team Joe and $Team Candace. Commentary channels milked it for views. Thumbnails screamed, "Rogan versus Owens, who's lying?" The story had evolved into a metadrama about truth, fame, and influence. And then something happened that caught everyone off guard. Joe's show suddenly uploaded an unlisted video that was up for only 20 minutes before being taken down. It showed a short clip of Joe reading an email on his laptop, looking visibly disturbed. "This isn't for air," he said to his producer. "Who sent this?" Before anyone could answer, the clip cut off. Fans who caught it screenshotted everything, speculating endlessly about what it meant. One screenshot showed a blurred-out header that seemed to read, "Classified transmission." Whether it was real or edited didn't matter. The mystery was back on fire. Candace posted one cryptic message soon after. "Truth has a way of leaking through the cracks." No explanation. No follow-up. It was enough to send everyone spiraling again. For the next 48 hours, both of their names dominated every trending page. Even mainstream outlets finally weighed in, running cautious headlines like "Speculation grows as online commentators question timeline of Charlie Kirk case." But instead of settling things, the coverage made the frenzy worse. Every vague phrase became fuel. Every cautious sentence became proof that they know more than they're saying. By the end of that week, it wasn't just an online mystery anymore. It had turned into a cultural phenomenon. Podcasts debated it, influencers made reaction videos about it, late-night shows joked about it. The internet was addicted. What started as a question about strange coincidences had become a psychological tug-of-war between two powerful voices, and an audience that couldn't stop choosing sides. And then, late one night, a small account posted something that sent a shiver through everyone following the story. A single line that read, "If you think it's over, watch the sky tomorrow." No one knew who posted it or what it meant. Some thought it was a hoax, others said it was a warning. But when morning came, something unexpected appeared in the news feeds again. An unconfirmed report of another unidentified plane flying low over Utah Valley. Just like before, and that's where everything started spinning all over again. The report hit social media like a lightning bolt. Before dawn, people were already filming the sky, hoping to capture what others swore they had seen. A low, dull hum, a flash of light above the valley, then silence. No one knew what it was, but within hours, clips from dozens of different phones flooded the internet. Some showed faint blinking lights, others just darkness and noise. But captions told the story for them. It's happening again. The hashtags came roaring back. Your Charlie Kirk files, your Watch Thesky, Operation 910. Candace Owens posted one word on her feed that morning. Confirmed. She didn't elaborate, but that was enough. Fans called it proof. Critics called it performance. The internet called it chaos. Joe Rogan came online later that day, his voice tense. "I've been trying to ignore this," he admitted during a live session, "but now there's footage of another plane? People need to calm down. If it's real, someone needs to explain it. If it's fake, someone needs to stop it." His tone wasn't playful this time. It was tired, He looked like a man who'd spent too many nights going through theories that made less sense the more you read them. "Here's the thing," he said quietly. "Candace is making some heavy claims, but every time we get close to clarity, something new drops and resets the whole story. That's not normal. That's orchestration." His words cut through the noise. Was he suggesting manipulation or warning of something bigger? Candace, meanwhile, released her most watched episode yet. She titled it Receipts Part 3, The Silence Before the Truth. In the opening minutes, she played slowed-down clips of the aircraft footage, overlaying them with her voice. "Look closely," she said. "This is the same altitude, same direction, and same tail sequence as before. You can ignore it once, but twice? That's not random." Her tone sharpened. "I've been told there are people, powerful people, who don't want this connected, but it's too late." Fans flooded the chat, typing in all caps, "Drop the proof. Don't back down. We're with you." Candace promised that what she had would soon go public. "If something happens to me," she added with a faint smile, "you'll know why." The stream ended abruptly. It felt theatrical, but eerily real at the same time. That night, Joe's podcast opened with a long silence. No intro music, no laughter. He just leaned forward and said, "I don't like where this is going." He took a sip of coffee, exhaled, and continued. "This started as a conversation about inconsistencies, and now it feels like we're part of one. Like somebody's writing this as we speak." His co-host frowned. "You mean like controlling the narrative?" Joe nodded. "Exactly. Look at the timing. Every time the noise starts to die, something new appears. What if we're not uncovering anything? What if we're being fed pieces to keep us guessing?" The chat exploded instantly. Rogan admits manipulation trended within minutes. Fans either called him a coward for pulling back or a genius for catching on. Candace didn't respond directly, but her next post said, "When people start doubting, you know you're getting close." Then came the emotional collapse that no one saw coming. A close friend of Charlie Kirk, someone who had stayed silent all this time, appeared on a late-night talk show. His eyes were red, voice shaking as he said, "I can't sleep anymore. I keep hearing his voice saying, 'They're watching me.'" The audience fell completely still. He didn't accuse anyone, didn't name names, but his pain felt genuine. "Maybe I ignored him," he said softly. "Maybe I thought he was just stressed." But he wasn't paranoid. He was scared. The clip spread faster than anything before it. For the first time, it wasn't just theories or speculation. It was human. People cried in the comments saying, "This finally feels real. This finally feels real." The next morning, Erica Kirk released a video of her own. Dressed in black, sitting in front of a plain background, she spoke slowly, carefully. "I've stayed quiet because I had to," she said. "Not because I'm hiding anything, but because I've been trying to protect what's left of my family." Her voice cracked slightly. "I loved my husband. Whatever anyone says about me, that's the truth." She addressed Candace directly. "Please stop dragging this through the mud. Let him rest." It was raw, almost pleading. But within minutes, clips of her blinking or smiling at the wrong moment were circulating with captions like, "Look at her eyes. Too calm. She's hiding something." Even grief became evidence. Joe mentioned it later, saying, "This is what happens when truth turns into theater. Nobody trusts anyone anymore." The story had become unstoppable. Conspiracy channels made countdowns predicting the next plane sighting. Influencers posted emotional reaction videos crying about Charlie Kirk's last message. Others mocked the whole thing, calling it reality TV disguised as tragedy. Yet somehow no one could look away. Candace claimed she was about to drop her final file, something that would make officials panic. Joe urged caution, saying, "If she's right, she needs protection. If she's wrong, she's going to destroy lives." Neither side blinked. And then, just when the internet was at peak frenzy, Candace's channel went offline for 8 full hours. No explanation, no update. Panic flooded social media. Hashtags like "Where's Candace" and "shutdown" trended globally. Some said it was technical, others swore it was censorship. Memes, theories, and panic filled the timeline. Joe posted only one cryptic sentence: "Told you this would happen." When Candace finally returned, she looked visibly shaken. "I was told to stop," she said quietly. "But I can't," her voice trembled. "They said if I show what I found, it'll cause chaos. Maybe they're right." She smiled faintly again, like someone who'd already made peace with her decision. But chaos is how truth is born. What she showed next wasn't explosive, it was subtle. A grainy document, blurred names, vague coordinates, timestamps that matched the day Charlie died. "This," she whispered, "is where it ends." The chat lost its mind. Some shouted fake, others finally. Joe reacted later that night saying only, "She's brave." But bravery and recklessness are one thin line apart. By the week's end, the world had split into two. People either believed that Candace had exposed something monumental or that she had built the most convincing media storm of the decade. Journalists analyzed how the public got trapped between entertainment and investigation. "We're living inside our own mystery show," one host said. And maybe that was true. Because by now, the real story wasn't about who killed Charlie Kirk. It was about how a rumor became a movement, how speculation became faith, and how the truth drowned somewhere in between. As for Joe and Candace, they never appeared together. Both kept posting, different tones, same unease. Joe warned about manipulation. Candace hinted about resistance. Their voices echoed across platforms like two sides of a haunting mirror. Every new post pulled viewers deeper into the cycle, unable to tell what was commentary and what was confession. And somewhere beneath all that noise, the original question that started it all, the one Joe asked at the very beginning, still hung in the air like a ghost. Why doesn't this feel right? No one ever answered it. No one ever could. Because the moment the lights went out, the line between truth and theater blurred for good. So where does that leave us? With more questions than answers. Every clip, every message, every silence seems to twist the story even further. Was this all just internet chaos gone wild? Or are we seeing pieces of something deeper slipping through the cracks? No one can say for sure. But one thing's certain. People are watching closer than ever. Joe Rogan's hesitation, Candace Owens' relentless pursuit, the strange coincidences that just won't fade. It all feels like the calm before another wave. Maybe the truth is buried under layers of spin and speculation. Or maybe it's sitting in plain sight, waiting for someone brave enough to connect the dots. Either way, this story isn't done. It's evolving in real time right before our eyes. Every silence feels intentional, every no comment louder than a confession. And whether you believe it or not, it's hard to deny the electricity in the air. Something about this just doesn't sit right. So what do you think? Is this just overblown internet drama, or is there something no one's willing to admit yet? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I actually go through them and want to know what you see between the lines. And if you want to stay updated as this story unfolds, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications right now, because whatever comes next, you're not going to want to miss it. This isn't just a headline anymore. It's history in motion. It's history in motion.